ago during Tekken 6. And I had got cast as Martial Law. And Martial Law is a character, for those of you who don't know, he's based on loosely on Bruce Lee, who is my childhood hero growing up. And so when I got cast as this character, I was like, yes! And I had gone into the booth, we were at Cup of Tea with Lainey and Danny, and then they had a number of the Japanese producers that had come over from Tokyo. And I was in there, and Danny looks at me and she says, okay, David, are you ready? And I said, I am. And she says, we're rolling. And so I busted out with my first... And all of a sudden, the Japanese producers are looking at each other and they're going, oh, and I'm thinking to myself, like, God, they hate me, I'm fired. And he looks at me and he goes, you do best Bruce Lee for white man. Huge compliment.
Wow.
Yeah. Welcome, Kaichi.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay, I was in a studio where we were doing Halo, one of the Halos, I don't remember which one. I was just doing incidental voices, and at the end I had to do a sound set, which we do for a lot of games, which is a lot of fighting efforts. And the director, I think it was Chris Borders, said, you know, the easiest thing to do would probably just be to have you parrot the guy version of you. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I said, if you just like give me, so it's like almost like a tennis match of right? So whoever I parodied, turned out I was parodying Steve Bloom, which was really fun. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And then he says, there are about 25 of these. And I was like, okay, awesome. So it's like this great tennis back and forth, and I'm matching everything perfectly. And around the 21st one, I farted while I did it. So it was and at the same time, and I just looked over at the engineer, nobody batted an eye, so I just kept going. We finished up, and I was like, you guys need to pick up anything? You okay? And they're like, no, we're good. And I was like, I just farted in a video game. And it's my fart, and I was so proud. It was great. There's a lot of farting that goes on in these studios, just so you know.
The mics pick up everything.
Yep, they're very sensitive to moisture. Somebody said that the other day. I was directing Alfred Molina the other day for Pen Zero, and he said I was very close to a microphone once, and they made me go back. The engineer said, you know, it's very sensitive to moisture. And I'm like, all right, back off. So weird. Sorry, I'm tired too. How are you?
I am very concerned about my future line of questioning now. Might have to change some of these.
Oh, this is no holds barred.
All right, so everybody has fun stories. Obviously, you have a little bit of personality or you wouldn't be in this line of business. If you were making a game or anime about yourself, if somebody was going to do a life story of Erica, Laura, or the whole group of you together, which would actually be really funny, who would you want voicing yourself, and what would the actual show or game be like? Don't ask the easy ones. I don't have the easy ones.
No,
Erica, you're first.
No, let's start on the other side this time.
Okay, left side.
All right.
Sorry.
It would be Matt Mercer voicing me as a Scottish gaseous cloud floating through the Milky Way. An example would be...
Hey, I'm Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. Sorry.
I farted with my butt.
It was flopping.
Oh, look, there's Orion.
What's going on? It's hard to top that one, Mary. I would say who would voice me, it would be Patrick Stewart voicing the action hero, Mr. Clean.
Yes!
Defeating the creepy germs.
Make it so.
Make it so. The cavity creeps, yeah.
Actually, no. I'd get Troy Baker to voice me because that would be hilarious. And it would be kind of a harem anime, but instead of girls, they're all different video games that I don't have time to play. And it would be titled, Who Needs Sunlight?
Bravo.
I think if I were to make a game about my life, it would be an otome, which is like, you know, when it's a dating sim where you date dudes, and it would be all of my current husbandos, which is like Captain America, Chris Evans, because they are different people. Like Alistair from Dragon Age, just all the beautiful men you can think of. And I would be voiced by Amy Schumer. Oh no, I'd be played by Amy Schumer. And she would just awkwardly hit on them the whole time. So it'd be like real life, like real close to real life. Me awkwardly hitting on Captain America.
I would watch the crap out of that.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, you want to help me with the pilot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, my game would be a straight rip-off of Katamari, and it would just be getting me to eat all of the foods. You could also consider it Pac-Man. It's like Pac-Man and Katamari had a baby, and it's just me trying to eat all the foods. And I think just because he voices everyone, it would be Troy Baker, because Troy Baker. So there you go.
I would probably be voiced by Aubrey Plaza. And it'd be like a rhythm game, but instead of like the good, perfect, it'd be me just insulting, even if you did good. And then when you do bad, it's a sarcastic like, really? So I don't know. I don't know. It would just be weird, I guess.
I approve.
I like it.
I'll play that game.
2 copies.
Yeah.
3 copies.
Pre-order already.
So right here is the first Kickstarter for like everything for next year's viewing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Coming
All right.
soon from Funimation.
So going back in time to your first ever voiceover in anime, your first dub on anime that you just absolutely loved, you saw this, you're like, oh, I want to be that person. So your first time you get to do it, what was going through your mind as you're getting ready to start coming up with a voice for a character that you've loved or that other people have loved? We'll start with you, Eric. Yeah, you started the left to right thing, so.
Well, my first, or is it like the one that we did? The first one that I did was this really old anime adaptation of Treasure Island. So I auditioned for this character as the main young boy in it. And I just auditioned with like a regular like young boy voice, and I get into the studio and they're like, hey, can you do British? And this is like, again, my very first thing, so I hadn't worked on accents at that point. And I was like, no, because I didn't want them to hate me. And if they thought it wasn't going to be right, I didn't want them to force me to do it. So they're like, okay, well, we'll just still go with it. So they taught me a British accent during the session. I don't know, like, it was a weird experience. So I don't know if I could be like, yeah, that was like one of the best one or most fun ones I did, because it was a weird, painful experience trying to get me to do that.
My first anime was I didn't know what it was. Like it's not like, oh, I love this show and so I totally know it. I'm like, I don't know anything that's going on. I was a cat girl, and most of the thoughts going through my mind were, man, it is really hard to look at the screen and look at the script at the same time, because it was my first job. So yeah, that. I'm a pro, guys. It's totally okay.
My first thing was in the first Full Metal Alchemist movie. That was like the first job I'd ever booked, and it was Walla, and it had one spoken line, and it was, there it is, the carnival. You're welcome. That'll be $75. And it was just really surreal because like I'd been a fan of Full Metal Alchemist for such a long time, and like the big reason why I was part of it is because I had like gotten to know the director, Mike McFarland, and like he called me in when I was in town recording my demo with Vic Mignogna 10 years ago. It was just like, it was really weird because, I'd been wanting to be an actor since I was 11 years old, and I had finally booked my first job, and it was on a show that I loved so much. So it was really humbling. And it continues to be humbling, sometimes too humbling, but yeah.
That is the nature of the career, yes. Oh man, my first voiceover project in general was an anime, and it was doing Walla for at Madgate Studios on the Fist of the North Star series, not the film, the series, which I love Fist of the North Star. Ken Shiro was badass, and I watched all that stuff, so it was really cool to go in there, and I'm like, cool, what are we doing? 3 hours of heads exploding. Cool. by about hour 2, you're like, this isn't cool anymore. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, God. Another, you need 2 more takes, okay. This is hard. So yeah, a very humbling in a different way introduction to a career in voiceover. But I was really excited it was Fist North Star, and I got to be a bunch of guys whose heads exploded.
I actually have an interesting story about how I got into my first anime. I had actually gotten my start in New York City as an actor on stage and doing stand-up comedy and theater and whatnot, and I had been doing voiceover professionally for about 8-9 years. I had since moved to Los Angeles, and this is funny because he's actually one of the guests here, and his better half is sitting next to me. We were, you guys know who Steve Bloom is, obviously. And so,
He's a good up-and-comer. You'll know about him soon.
yeah, you'll know about him soon if you don't. Well, anyway, Steve and I had the same agent, and Steve and I had gotten to know each other over really a course of years, just being in the same office and auditioning for this stuff. And Steve and I were in the booth at our agent's office one day, auditioning for some commercial. And Steve looks over at me and he goes, "Hey, Dave." "Yeah, Steve, what's up, man? You ever do any anime?" Totally true! Steve, it's true! He gave me the number to Kevin Seymour. He goes, "You should do anime." And so I got the number to the late great Kevin Seymour. And I went in to Kevin, and I think it was Yukikaze or Ghost in the Shell. And I went in there kind of cocky because I had been doing voiceover for a number of years at this point, and I had never done ADR before. And Kevin took mercy on me, and it was like, "You've never done ADR?" I'm like, "No." And so he actually taught me the ropes as far as doing ADR. But yes, thank you, Steve Bloom, for giving me the intro into the world of anime.
Yay!